Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever and wherever you happen to be under this big, beautiful, bright full moon, that you are able to feel grateful and thankful. And for some of you, you might feel thankful that you got through the weekend of Thanksgiving with your family in one piece. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I understand completely what that's like when you're on a spiritual path and no one in your family knows anything about spiritual stuff and they think you're just strange. You're the black sheep of the family because you care about the ascension and they don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I get it. But anyway, I hope that you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving and that you're able to feel that gratitude. You might be grateful that you're no longer with your family. You had a good time with them, but it's over. Get back to the routine. Or maybe you didn't go because of coronavirus. A lot of you did stay home. So maybe you're just grateful to be alive at this moment. And no matter what, this is what I was going to talk to you guys about last week on Wednesday. And Anchor just stopped. Spotify stopped. I don't know if it was because we're hit by plasma or some solar flare or C-class flare. Something hit us last week, and I don't know what happened, but a lot of websites were down, including Uber and Lyft and Spotify, and oh my gosh, so many sites. YouTube went down a couple times during the day. It was ridiculous. Even some of the financial websites, Merrill Lynch, their website was down. I saw the list. I was like, what? I'm like, what is going on with Spotify or Anchor? Because they're on the same server. And I talked to a couple of my friends who have podcasts on Anchor, and they said the same thing. They're like, yeah, there's no way. You can't even record. You go to record, and it might let you record, and then you go to save it, and it says, sorry. You need to connect to the internet. It's like, I am connected to the internet. And it just wasn't letting me do it. I was like, oh my God. So those of you who do follow me at mermaidgirl888 on Instagram, you already knew that. And those of you who did not check out my Instagram and you didn't see the cutest pictures of the cat, the latest pictures of the cat. And also you didn't see the announcement that I just can't even publish today. So I guess I had an extra day. I didn't plan. I'm kind of grateful for the extra time. I mean, it's too bad that I was thinking about my show all day, and then when I went to record, it was impossible. That was really annoying. I wish I could have found out that was going to be the case early in the morning and enjoyed that day instead of being stressed about it. Because I wanted to get out my Thanksgiving, talk. And so basically having an attitude of gratitude, being thankful, being grateful for everything in your life, it's a key component in the law of attraction, in it. Anything that is what you want to do, be, or have, it's fueled, like the fire that, or the fuel that adds to the fire of your desires. It's gratefulness. That's the fuel. Like, that's what drives it, because it puts you in a higher vibrational state of mind. And if you're generally a negative person, you could still find things to be grateful for. You know, if you ever watched it wasn't in The Secret, but Dr. Joe Vitale had a program that came out after the movie The Secret came out. And if you have never seen The Secret, by the way, go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's on YouTube. And you could probably buy an old copy of it on eBay or Amazon even. But The Secret is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I've seen it over 30 times. It's helped me in a lot of different ways. But Dr. Joe Vitale is one of the people that's interviewed in the movie The Secret, that was produced by the executive producer was Rhonda Byrne. Byrne is her name. Anyway, go watch it. It's a really good movie. If you haven't, or if you've only seen it once or twice 20 years ago, go watch it again. It's really worth your time and effort. It'll bring up new insights and new things to your mind. And the more you watch it, the more it changes your subconscious mind, honestly. And it can help you put yourself in a higher vibrational state of mind and body and spirit. But Dr. Joe Vitale said he had a time in his life in which he was homeless, and he had been living in his car, and he finally had made or scraped enough money together in the Dallas winter to get a little motel room. And he thought, well, that's good, because I can kill myself in the motel room and I won't be found dead in my car, because he was suicidal and he was feeling really terrible about himself. But he knew about the law of attraction even back then, and he knew that it's his own bad thoughts that were preventing him from having a happy life. And he knew that it was his circumstance. It wasn't really truly his fault. Like, he had a job and he wasn't making enough to save any money, and his boss fired him unfairly, and he couldn't get another job, and everything ran out. And he just, ended up living in his car, and he was just feeling so low about himself. But he said that he had been at the library checking out all of the law of attraction stuff that he could get his hands on, Napoleon Hill and James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, and all these things that he'd been reading. So he knew about it. And he said he sat in the motel room and he was getting ready to write a suicide letter. And all he had was a pencil and a piece of paper. He didn't have a pen. But the pencil was free with the room, I guess, and there was stationery in the motel room. And he sat down to write the letter, and instead he realized he was grateful that he had that pencil. And he was grateful he had that paper. For what he had been suffering, was pretty bad, but now he has a little bit more. He didn't even have a pencil and paper a week ago. And so he started to really feel gratitude for the pencil he was getting ready to write a suicide note with. And he didn't write it, because the gratitude overtook him and lifted his vibration up just a little bit, and he was able to see a better way, a better view. And thank God, he's a multimillionaire now. He collects old antique cars. He collects some really cool things. I think he has a car named Francine or something. I can't remember. Maybe it's a different name, but anyway, that was his story. And I remember thinking, even if you are in your lowest possible point, if you could come up with one thing you're grateful for, that one little ounce of gratitude will save your life. And maybe you're not that low. Maybe you passed that. A lot of people went through the suicidal stuff in the past 2 to 3 weeks. Over the weekend, a friend of mine wrote to me and said that he was taking heavy amounts of drugs and he was getting ready to kill himself. and he told me he loved me, and he said he's going to go write a suicide note in case they find his body tomorrow. And then he apologized. He said, "I'm sorry." And then that was it. And I didn't hear from him for another day and a half. Oh, that was my weekend. I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, please. I asked God, send legions of angels to his side. Let him know how valuable he is and how wonderful he is. And about a day and a half or a day later, he wrote me, he goes, "I didn't do it. I'm fine. Oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you for your love and your concern. I feel better now." I guess because he came down from the drugs and realized, oh God, that was a really bad trip. And he was grateful for my love and my friendship, and that kept him going. And he said, "I'm not going to." I sent him India Ari's "I Am Light." If you are ever very low. I have another friend who was very sick. She's worried she has coronavirus. Michelle, who is a nurse that I've talked about on the show, she did test positive for coronavirus. So please send, again, love and light and prayers to Michelle. Send those her way. But yeah, my other friend, she was really feeling low, really bad. She'd been on and off suicidal for like a month. It's been going around. A lot of heavy energy is coming up. So it is part of the purging, part of what's going on. It's a part of the ascension that everyone's going through. And I was feeling pretty low, just a couple points in the past, like 4 or 5 days. Just a couple, like maybe for an hour, maybe 2 hours, crying in my sleep and then waking up with puffy eyes, knowing that in my sleep I had a bad dream or a sad dream. Overall, I feel good. I feel okay right now, but it was it's just this energy going around. And so if you felt it and now you're okay, okay, look, it's just a passing thing. And a lot of times you might feel an intense amount of anxiety. You might be an empath. You might be feeling not your own anxiety, but your neighbors or someone in your family, or maybe the person you're in a relationship with. You might be able to feel other people's emotions inside your body as if they're yours. So if you can discover, oh my gosh, that's not even my emotion, you can be grateful for that. If you've come through a hard time lately, emotionally and mentally, you could be grateful that you came through that time. So you don't have to have, 500 things that you're grateful for, having a wonderful, fantastic life to feel gratitude. Even if you're living in your car, you could be grateful you have a car. There's a lot of homeless people that don't have that, and even if you are homeless living on the street, probably not listening to this show, because, if you don't have, a connection, Wi-Fi connection and, an electronic device. But, even if you're in that situation, you can be grateful that you have shoes, because a lot of homeless people don't. Be grateful you have a blanket, because a lot of homeless people don't. Maybe you're homeless in an encampment, like in Oakland, California. There's an adult encampment where they, all the homeless people, they each have their own little space, and once or twice a day, people come around and give them free sandwiches. So if you're in that situation, be grateful someone thinks about you enough to give you a sandwich. There's always something to be grateful for. What if you don't have shoes? Well, be grateful you still have feet. A lot of people don't have feet. You could always find something to be grateful for. If the very basic thing is that you're alive, then be grateful that you're still alive. You're still standing. If you're feeling suicidal, maybe you can make it 1 more minute and then be grateful for that minute. 1 more minute again, be grateful for that minute. What if you're feeling okay, but you're sick? Maybe you have coronavirus or something else. Maybe you're in the hospital. Just be grateful for every minute that passes by, that you made it, you survived. 1 more minute. I know when I've had really bad asthma attacks, it's all I can do to live another 30 seconds sometimes. trying to manage getting the air out of my lungs, trying to manage getting oxygen back into my lungs. I've had some pretty gnarly times with asthma that I've had since I was born. It's genetic. And it's been one of those things that's always been in my life. And boy, I'm grateful when I get through. I've been hospitalized. Thank you, God, not for years, but when I was younger, I was hospitalized many times, like 6 times, when I was a young adult. And I'm grateful that I'm not going through that anymore. I'm grateful that finally somebody told me, oh, by the way, you don't ever have to have pneumonia. There's a pneumonia shot. Well, crap. No one told me that. I almost died 6 times because they failed to mention it. They should have said, hey, why didn't you get the pneumonia shot? They should have said that 6 years before. The first time I was hospitalized, they should have said it. They were incompetent, or they didn't care because I didn't have insurance. A $10 pneumonia shot is what saved my life. You get one and for up to 10 years, you're safe from getting pneumonia again, right? So I'm really grateful I have that information now, even though I didn't have it when I needed it earlier on. I have that info now, and I'm grateful for that. And I've been really worried about money for weeks, for a month actually, and I learned about a couple different programs. I'm really grateful for the money programs that I started. One is a book that I've been reading. It's like a workshop by Barbara Stanny and called Overcoming Under-Earning. And another program I just started doing is called the BioWealth Code. And I started doing that. It's a series of meditations that you do for 7 days, which I finished. And I feel differently than I did a week ago. I really do. I feel really grateful. And it put me in a positive state of mind, these 2 things, and working on myself so that now, instead of being afraid and panicking about money, I'm just like, you know what? I have some ideas. Over the weekend, I was able to get 1 hypnosis ready. I have 4 little quick edits to do, and once it's edited, I'm going to let you guys know more about it, but it's a healing hypnosis, and if you need to heal physically, emotionally, psychologically, or spiritually, it's all covered in 1 hypnosis audio. So let me know. You could DM me at Mermaid Girl 888 on Instagram, or you can write to me. If you want to just pay for it, and then when it's ready, which it should be ready in the next couple days, then I'll just forward it to you the minute it's ready. If you are interested in that, it's very deep. I channeled God, so there's light codes in my voice coming through, and it's not just hypnosis, it's a lot more. Eventually, I will figure out a way to make my own music and put binaural beats in there. I did not do that yet, but it's coming. I see that it's coming. I'm trying to debate whether I'm going to hire somebody to do it or figure it out myself. I'm not sure yet. I might hire somebody's music or, someone to do this for me. But, in fact, I already know who I'm going to go to for that. But, so if you do buy it and then I upgrade it later, then the upgrade is yours for free, of course. And I'm grateful for a lot of things, and that's one of them. I'm grateful that I started that, like I said I was going to do, and I figured it out. And a lot of things have been happening. I don't know if you guys are aware. Over the weekend, we had a massive solar flare came off the sun. It was a M class 4.4, and the plasma from that was massive. I mean, this is the biggest flare that's come off the sun in 3 years, and it will hit tomorrow. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, it might take out some satellites. They're thinking it might do some damage. They're not sure. The scientists are kind of putting out a little warning, by the way, which we'll get to when we get to spaceweather.com. But today is a full moon in the sign of Gemini. A lot of people are in the feels today. A lot of people are really, you could go either way with Gemini, right? You could go either feeling in the feels and just being sad, or feeling in the feels and being really happy. And people with the Gemini energy, sometimes they can, act one way in the morning and different in the afternoon, just like Jekyll and Hyde. Or it could just be, people could just turn on you in a heartbeat. Like, it's one of those crazy energies where it's like, all right. Castor and Pollux, the twin brothers that, I think they were opposites. I think that was like who the Gemini twins are. Somehow that's in my mind from childhood, which is weird. But not only was there a full moon today and it was in Gemini, we also have had a lunar eclipse. So there's that energy too, and so the energies are pretty deep today. According to the Farmer's Almanac, this is the Beaver moon. And I'm gonna see, I was just looking this up earlier. The full Beaver moon. It sounds kind of strange, but it's a Native American term, just because that's when the beavers are out. This is the time when they make their shelter in their lodges, because after having gathered food throughout the summer, this is the time it's going to get cold and they're going to go hibernate for a while. And they've got their I don't think they actually technically sleep. They don't hibernate like bears, but they do go into like their dens and they kind of just relax, kick back, watch Netflix. I don't know what beavers do. But unfortunately, this is also a time where trappers would catch beavers before they went into their dens. And back in the day, the fur traders used to go and get the beaver pelts just so they could keep warm with the beaver pelts, which I don't agree with, but it's, it's part of the weird history of North America. This was all throughout Canada as well, not just the U.S. But some of the moon names of November include the frost moon and the freezing moon. Of course, this is when the first frost is supposed to happen. Many of you have snow already. It came early, this year. So, of course it did. 2020 is... she's been a cruel mistress this year. There's nothing we can do either. I mean, it's like, you live through it or you don't. That's it. I mean, we're always, under the influence of whatever's going on. But we can learn to rise above, and you can be grateful for that too. A lot of people have called this also the digging or the scratching moon, not because it's a time for athlete's foot, but because it is a time in which animals are scratching a lot, I guess, at the fallen leaves on the ground, looking for fallen nuts or remaining shoots of the green foliage. And so it's just another indication that winter is indeed on its way. So let's see if there's any. There's not really a whole lot of other information about this particular one. Let's see. All right. So there you have it. So full Beaver moon and the whole eclipse thing and the Gemini. There's a lot of things taking place. Maybe in your life, like maybe people change their mind about you out of nowhere. Just turn about face, either for the good or for the bad, or things can change on a dime. Life, circumstances, everything can just change on a dime, just like that right now. And that's, in my life, something changed today. Like my son woke up and noticed that he wasn't on the work schedule for this week. And then he got a long letter on WhatsApp from his boss saying, you can't come to work anymore. you're fired. And my son's like, what the hell? Because he and his boss were like getting along like really good friends. Everything was going great. And he was doing really well. But my son hurt his ankle last week on, I think it was like Wednesday. Like Wednesday night, he hurt his ankle really badly walking home. And so his boss fired him because he hurt his ankle on the way home in his own time. And he couldn't come to work for a week. And he's like, I'm putting ice on my ankle like every 2 to 3 hours. Like I literally can't walk. I can't go even up and down the stairs. It was like, Wednesday night he knocked on the door and I opened the door and he fell into the apartment. And he was like, this sucks. Look what happened to my ankle. And we thought he broke it and he had a blister on it. And we're like, oh my God. Because when you fracture a bone, there's always a fracture blister. It's a blister, but it indicates that there's a break. And actually it was just because of how he was walking in his shoes after spraining his ankle. So thank God he has a friend who's a doctor and he sent a bunch of pictures and he figured it out. He's like, no, okay, it's not a break. It is a sprain. And that's another weird thing going around. And before he got home that night, my ankle started hurting so bad. I was having a hard time. I was hobbling around here like, what the hell's going on? My ankle hurts so bad. I could barely walk. Suddenly out of nowhere, I'm feeling like a lot of pain and my ankle got really swollen. And then on Sunday, President-elect Joe Biden hurt his right ankle as well. So it was my right ankle, my son's right ankle, and then Biden's right ankle. I'm like, well, that's a weird connection to have to the president-elect. And I wonder now if that's not something going around with several people. Like maybe many of you are like, holy crap, I hurt my right ankle too. It's so strange. But yeah, so my son got fired because he has a sprained ankle. And his boss was like, you're always getting injured. He's like, what do you mean always getting injured? He's like, I got a tattoo like a week and a half ago. And then, but I still came to work and it sprained my ankle. Like what? I think he did maybe cut himself. Yeah, he did. He cut himself. And so he super glued. I don't know if you guys know about that. It's like a weird handy trick. If you cut yourself and it's deep enough to maybe get a stitch or two, but you don't have the ability, like say you're in the middle of nowhere in the woods and you have super glue, you could super glue the cut and it will stop bleeding, obviously. And eventually the cells will grow back and the super glue part will grow out and fall off and bada boom, bada bing, you healed yourself. And it took a few seconds. But I mean, so yeah, because my son cut himself and is bleeding profusely while he was here at home. And then, so those are that was the excuse. You cut yourself and then you sprained your ankle in 2 months. He got 2 injuries in 2 months. So what a crazy way why? And my son was like, to be honest with you, I don't even care. He's like, I was making $2.50 an hour. It's like it was costing him $5 to come home in the taxi at night. And it was like barely worth going, but he was learning valuable restaurant experience. He's like, it was never about the money for me. It was about learning and growing as a sous chef and as a waiter and learning about the restaurant business because I want to have my own restaurant someday. But he's like, it's almost a blessing. He's like, well, since I got fired and, from a $2.50 an hour job, like, it's completely ridiculous. And I'm like, I know. I mean, when I was 16 years old, I'm 52 now, and when I was 16, my first job paid me $3.65 an hour. So the fact that my son's making even less than that, like, oh, you deserve so much more. You deserve more respect. He's getting sexually harassed by the chef. It was ridiculous. So I'm like, you don't really need that. And he's like, I'm going to California. Fuck it. It took me 3 years to get this stupid job, and then I get fired. And one of the reasons was we live too far away. It's like, well, he knew where you lived. And apparently in his letter of all the reasons why he fired him, one of the things was, well, I thought your mom was going to drive you back and forth to work. And I'm like, in what? I don't own a car. That's a lot of assumption. Like, it's just a bunch of BS. I think the real reason wasn't even revealed, just to be honest. I think there's a hidden agenda, at the Gemini moon. There might not be the full story. It might not be, might be a little bit of a shadow. That like shadowy, eclipsey energy was so wow. That's so crazy. But my son's like, I want to go to California. I'm like, all right. And he's like, well, let's look at the prices. And you guys, I bought a flight from, and this is crazy because Spirit Air is like a bus. I called the Sky Bus, and my son I got him a flight for $299 from Ecuador to Fort Lauderdale, from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas, Fort Worth, from Dallas, Texas to Las Vegas, Nevada, from Las Vegas, Nevada to Oakland, California. All of those flights, $299 combined. That includes the luggage, carry-on, whatever. I was like, well, at these prices, I can afford to fly you back in a couple weeks if you change your mind. Go see your sister. And they've been talking, and she's like, yeah, come on over. How come you're not here yet? Get your butt over here. You're 18, you're an adult. Come visit, He's like, screw it. I'm going to go to California and make $18 as a dishwasher instead of $2 as a dishwasher and a line prep chef and a, assistant, like assistant chef, like a junior chef, and as a waiter and cleaning the bathrooms and doing all that for $2 an hour. It's stupid. He's like, I'm going to just go to California. He's like, in one day, in one shift, I will be able to pay your rent, Mom, if you need me. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, let's do that. So we spent all day making a resume, and it looks really nice. These digital resumes, I'm telling you guys, oh my God, so much better than the paper I used to have a resume service years ago, and this is so much better. It looks neater. It's cleaner, and he even put his face on his own resume. It's so cool. So I'm amazed by that. And other things turned on a dime today. This whole Gemini moon, it's a crazy energy. You guys may or may not be going through this as well, or various things, similar to this. My app in which I order groceries, the one that I have been relying on because of this whole coronavirus crisis, when I went to open it up to order groceries, and they owe me $35. They don't return money if they can't buy something. They put it on what they call the Tipty card. The name of the app is Tipty. And they use it, they put on the Tipty card, and then I can use it in my next order. Well, they owe me $35. Maybe even more. It might be like $40. And I can't even get into my account because my device is too old. It's like, oh my God, things are changing like crazy. Weird things like that. So I have to go, pay $200 or $300 for another device to get my money back. Or to be able to order groceries. It might be worth it, but I might just go buy a phone or something, but completely ridiculous. It's like, oh my God, your device is no longer compatible with our app. I don't know if you guys have ever had a phone long enough where that starts happening. It is one of the most annoying and helpless feelings in the world. It's like, no, I love this phone. I just finally got all the settings right. I got all the apps I wanted just perfect. Everybody I know, all of my contacts are on this one. It's so frustrating. And then everything gets so obsolete, and then your device is obsolete, and it's like, man, this blows. But that's something that happened just today on the Gemini moon. My son has a newer phone. I'm like, well, you need to download the app, and we'll order from your phone, at least I'll get my $35 back in the next order. Then I might just have to start shopping, just going into the store myself. I realized today I haven't left the house, guys, in 3 months, except to go outside my door to throw away the trash. And it blows my mind. I was like, oh my God, I literally never left outside my front door, and I haven't gone anywhere because of this coronavirus thing. I just got so used to being at home that I was leaving once a month, or every other month we were taking turns paying the rent. And now, to go out of the house to pay the rent. In fact, I was going to go out of the house to pay the bills, and I'm like, I'm going to look it up. Just, I might be able to pay the bills right from my credit card, my Visa card, my bank card. And oh my God, no one bothered to mention to me 8 months ago I could have done this, 3 years ago when I moved here. And guess what, guys? I don't have to leave the house for anything except to pay the rent. I could even pay my bills from home. All the bills here, it's one company that controls everything. It's the government. And so I just pay the government for my internet and for everything. It's actually pretty convenient. Electricity is what's been free, not the water. I said last week the water, but electricity here is free for 3 months as a way to help people because of the coronavirus. So it's kind of cool. Can you guys imagine in the United States if electricity was free, or in Europe? I don't know how much you guys pay over in Europe or in Australia or New Zealand, but can you imagine the government just says, we're going to subsidize everybody's electricity for the next 6 months or so, just kind of to help you through the pandemic. It's kind of sweet. Our electricity was only $19 a month, though. It's very cheap here. In fact, Ecuador provides electricity for Colombia. We sell electricity to Colombia, and that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, that's the Gemini moon, guys. That's what's been going on with that. It's been really like a lot of things like that just change on a dime. And normally, if my son asks me for something big, like, something's going to cost $300 normally, I'm like, well, let's talk about it. Let's, weigh the pros and cons and he just said, I'm going to go and see my sister. I already have a place to live with her. It's a homeless shelter for youth, but it's like excellent. I mean, she's got her own room, 3 square meals a day. They helped her get her GED. They're helping her get into university, like everything, like they do everything. And she has a place to live until she's 26 years old and out of university and already making money. And they can live there until they're 26, and they can live there and get all kinds of support and help from several adults that are a lot older. And it's a really incredible program. And they could even work and still live in the homeless shelter, because in the Bay Area, everything's so expensive. So my son's like, I'm gonna go see what's going on over there. I'm gonna try it. I'm like, God, if I wasn't 52, if I was your age, I'd go do it too. I'd be like, hey, yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'd live in the shanty town in a cardboard box for a month, while I'm on the waiting list just to get into this place. It's that good. It's not dirty. It's actually very clean. It's very neat. In fact, my oldest kid is the person who cleans the place. So she has everyone has tasks, and one of her tasks is to keep the place neat. And she's like, I actually kind of like it. I have a schedule and I clean the place, and it's nice. And she made a lot of cool friends, a lot of neat people. Everyone's helping everybody else. It's very much a sense of community. And it's pretty cool. I'm like, this is cool. All right, go ahead. I have one ex-boyfriend over there, right, like a couple blocks away, if they needed somebody else, for help. But it's pretty cool. And the mosque is right there in Oakland, where we used to attend Ramadan services and different things. And so they have everything they need. So I'm like, well, all right. He said he gave me 5 clear and concise reasons why it will be okay to go. And I'm like, okay. And within an hour, he had a ticket. It was like so easy. I was like, whoa, that's really trippy. Because the last time I tried to buy an airline ticket from here, it took 6 weeks because like the website kept shutting down, the internet wasn't working, like so many things went wrong when my oldest tried to get a plane ticket. And with him, it was like bada boom, bada bing, so easy, let's do it. It's going to be clear, cut, precise, concise. Everything is going to flow. And that's what's meant to be. Now, of course, I'm debating, do I want to stay in Ecuador by myself? Do I want to go back to California, see my kids on the weekends? Maybe. I don't know. And we've already discussed it. He's like, I might come back in a few months. I might just go over there for a couple of months and come back home. All right. Talk your sister into coming home for the holidays. Next year, we all have Christmas together down here. Maybe if I have enough money, we'll go to the Galapagos, right? Go feed banana peels to the lizards. They love that. And go to the iguana park. I love the iguana park. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, what kind of wild things? I want you guys to write me and tell me what's going on in your lives. Like what wild and crazy thing happened during the Gemini full moon with the eclipse, no doubt. I mean, no less. The Beaver full moon. Like what happened where you're just like, I'm going to change my entire life. I mean, did anyone break up with you or fire you or hire you? Was anything massive where you're like, wow, my life just changed on a dime. And I got a million great ideas, or did something bad happen? Did something good happen? Which way did the Gemini go for you? You know, I consider this for my son a really positive step. Now I'm going to miss him. And we were crying over it today. Like, oh God, you know, it's so hard to live with each other. We just fight. We don't see eye to eye a lot, but we have a better understanding even over the past 2 months than we ever had. And that's okay. It's good, but it's a positive step for both of us. But at the same time, we're like, oh, I'm going to miss you, you know, going through that empty nest syndrome. I am anyway. So there you go. I mean, there's something, I'm sure that you all are going through something. I want to hear about it. You could write me, of course, just direct message me on Instagram, you know, at mermaidgirl888. So anyway, spaceweather.com, I want to get into this because there's some wild stuff going on with the sun right now. After like a whole year of hardly anything, this is what's going on right now. The solar wind speed is 540.7 kilometers per second. Right now I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sunspots facing us. Wow. So sunspot AR 2786 has a beta gamma magnetic field. It's enormous. I mean, I'm sure inside this little sunspot you could fit several Earths. It's huge. It's massive. And it harbors energy for M-class solar flares. I don't know why they don't just say 1, 2, 3 or ABC, you know, but it's like C-class, M-class, and then X-class. Those are the biggest ones. So basically, it looks like we're going to have a CME impact. A coronal mass ejection from the sun came off. It was launched in that M4.4 class solar flare. And they think it's going to sideswipe Earth's magnetic field either tomorrow or the next day, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, according to the NOAA analysts. The glancing blow, if it occurs, is expected to cause no more than minor G1 class geomagnetic storms, which will lend itself to lovely aurora borealises up in the north, in the Arctic Circle minimally, possibly down to Canada, of course, or even part of the U.S., honestly. And it'll be the same all the way around the globe. So throughout Europe, the Scandinavian countries will have a pretty show for sure. So they're saying over the high northern latitudes, And so if you want to check out, there's a lot of pictures of the sun today on spaceweather.com because of this. So they're saying that this is the biggest solar flare that's happened in more than 3 years. According to the Solar Dynamics Observatory of NASA, they recorded this extreme ultraviolet movie of the M4.4 category blast. It's massive. I mean, they were able to capture it in UV light. And so there was UV radiation and X-rays from this flare, and it ionized the top of the Earth's atmosphere. And there was a shortwave radio blackout. And that's over the South Atlantic. And ham radio operators and mariners might have noticed strange propagation effects at any of the frequencies below 20 megahertz, with some transmissions below 10 megahertz just completely extinguished. Because this was a really big flare, man. So they say it was bigger than it seems, because you can actually see there's a secondary picture of this when they blocked out the sun. I mean, it's like massive how far reaching this is. So they thought at first it was going to miss Earth, and now they're saying no, it's gonna hit Earth in the magnetic field in the next 2 days. So, and they think, again, of course, Canada, Norway, and Sweden will see the aurora borealis, as well as G1 class geomagnetic storms will be affecting those areas as well. And again, like radios and whatnot. So let's see. The space weather, as far as cosmic radiation is concerned, it has gone up by 0.8% in the past 48 hours, which puts us at a high of 9.7% of the space age average as far as neutron counts are concerned. And there are no large coronal holes on the sun facing the Earth right now, but massive amounts of potential flares and CMEs, of course. So let's see. There were 6 sporadic fireballs over the United States, according to NASA's All-Sky cameras and the All-Sky Fireball Network. And as far as disclosurenews.it is concerned, the Schumann Resonance was 17 hertz frequency. That was a big number today. And according to HeartMath Institute, their website's down again. So that might be as a result of what's been going on with this M-class flare. So that's it. There you have it. That's all this space weather and stuff going on in the cosmos, astrology and astronomy wise. I had a great weekend overall, even though some, sad thing with my friend happened, but he's okay. He's okay. He's going to live. He's fine. But it's, the volcano went off, massive volcano. And there was a discovery in Colombia that is actually incredible. They found these paintings that are 12,500 years old, and this massive rock on the side of a cliff, and they don't even know how people got the hell up there. I mean, a lot of these paintings you can't see unless you have a drone. And this is in the Colombian jungle in the Amazon basin. And there's been a governmental for 50 years, and it's just ended. It's very tentative peace between the government and the people, the native people there. It was going on when I was there years ago. And the conflict just ended. And they're hoping they could keep the peace because it's dangerous enough to go over there. But they just discovered this massive cliff of paintings of animals like mastodons and all kinds of animals that are now extinct and have been extinct for 12,000 years. Things that became extinct because of the ice age. So 12,500 years ago is when they believe all this art was drawn. And I mean, not just one or two or 10 things. I mean, like thousands of pictures. And they discovered it a year ago, but they didn't tell anyone yet until just this week. So cuencahighlife.com is a local website here where I live in Ecuador, and they have a couple pictures of it if you want to check it out. But this blew my mind. It blew my mind, and it might blow yours too, because wow, some of these pictures are really beautiful and just really detailed, like the woolly mammoth's hair. Like they had woolly mammoths here in South America, apparently, over 12,000 years ago. It's crazy. But we did have, and we did have Sangay volcano went off. A lot of volcanoes around the world. When that M4.4 hit, or started to hit our, there was a 6.4 earthquakes in the Pacific Ocean, by the way. So where that initially the energy started flowing that caused that shortwave radio brownout, by the way. Also, we had 2 6.4 earthquakes. Remember, we've been talking about this for a while, that Suspicious Observers is a station on YouTube, or a channel on YouTube. And he is the scientist that came up with a theory in recent years that when we're hit by massive things from the sun and other bits and pieces of cosmic radiation, that it affects our volcanoes and earthquakes and actual storms on the surface of our planet. And here we go again. We get hit by that, boom, 2 6.4 earthquakes. So at the same time, in 2 different places in the Pacific Ocean. So, I mean, it's hard to dispute it when it keeps happening. Some scientists are reluctant to talk about it or acknowledge it, that there's a connection, but to me, it just reminds me of when a doctor says, oh, you have problems with your stomach and your head hurts? Well, those are 2 different things. You have to go to 2 different doctors for that. 2 different specialists. You have to go to a head specialist and a gut specialist, like intestinal medicine or internal medicine versus, cranial medicine. I don't know. It's like, it's the same body. It's obviously connected. Like, come on. But I've had doctors tell me stuff like that. It's like, oh my God. If it's not specifically in this region of the body, I can't help you. It's a whole body. Learn holistic medicine, man. But I think that the flares from the sun, the cosmic radiation, when we get hit by pulsar energy or magnetar energy, it affects our land. It affects us. It affects our bodies. So I would like to know if you guys were sensitive to that energy at all. If you felt it. I didn't feel it, but I was standing in my bathroom and I saw the sun energy was coming through the window, which was closed, and it was so bright that I felt like blinded for a few seconds. Then I went downstairs and the sun was streaming through my kitchen. And it was so bright that I felt like I could probably get sunburned, like a very dangerous sunburn, through the glass, which is normally UV protected. There's so much UV radiation coming that it really, really freaked me out. I was like, the sun is not normally this bright. It was white hot bright. And I told my son, I know something's coming off the sun right now. And then later I read that it was the M-class flare. I was like, oh my gosh. I knew it. I saw it with my own eyes. Not supposed to stare into the sun, but I just looked really quick. I was like, dang, the sun is really bright. I did go outside. I thought, I'm going to stand in the sun, get my vitamin D daily dose. And I stood there for all of 30 seconds. I'm like, I need to go back inside. It's too hot. It's too bright. And there's It didn't feel right. It turned, and I let the sun look at my hair, load my hair up with that good energy. That's really good. Your hair's an antenna to that energy. And then I just came back inside. I'm like, nope. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, guys. And when I come back, I'm going to be reading the next installment of The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding right after this message. All right, guys, for those of you who are in the know, we are in our 9th week of reading this book. We have a few more weeks left. And for those of you who are just tuning into this is part 9. You might want to go back and listen to the first 8 parts. But this is a story about Baird T. Spalding. He was one of 11 people who went to the Himalaya mountains in search of the masters, the ascended masters of light, who supposedly lived there. They had been hearing for years that these very enlightened masters, who are surrounded by mystery and miracles, and they heard that they were living there. So they said, you know what, let's set out on an expedition to find these people. Well, find them they did, and this resulted in like 5 or 6 volumes of books, and every chapter is more revelatory than the last, more miraculous, more incredible. So I hope that you'll stick with it and listen to this whole book. And I'm not sure if I'm going to teach, not teach, but read every single book in a row. If I can find them, I will. But they're like $200. They're like out of print. And if you find it, it's actually usually around $200 for the 6 books. And this book's the first one's only 62 pages. And you can find some of them on PDF for free online. And that's where I found it. So if you wanted to read it outside of the show, you can, of course. But anyway, that's where we're at. So we left off on chapter 21 last week on Monday, and there was like a little bit left to the chapter, but we just didn't have enough time because this chapter 21 is pretty long. So here we go. I don't know if you recall this. I'm going to read this last paragraph from last week because it's kind of a crazy thought. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but apparently this is true or happened for this guy in the Bible back in the day to over 2,000 years ago. I thought this was a strange one. Okay. He says, this was the revelation that came to Jacob as he lay upon the hard stone of materiality. It was revealed to him that which is gazed upon is brought forth, and his realization of this released him from his material bondage. It was this which prompted him to put spotted sticks in the cows' drinking water, thus causing them to bring forth spotted offspring. Is that like not the weirdest thing you guys have ever heard? You want spotted cows, so you put spotted sticks in their drinking water, and then their kids will have spots. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not scientific, but if it frees you from your material bondage and you can think about something in a different way, I think that's a good thing. Whatever you gaze upon comes about. Well, let's start staring at piles and piles of money. Maybe we could start staring at happy, well-fed people and imagine That's everybody in the whole wide world. It's a very strange and unusual thought with the spotted sticks, but I do like the sentiment behind it. So let's keep going. And this is the part we did not read last week. We can so definitely put forth our ideal into the formless that it is formed direct from the unformed, and that which appears invisible to mortal consciousness. The drinking water of the cows but typifies the mirror through which the image held in mind is reflected to the soul, the innermost, and then conceived and brought forth. It is the same with the friends assembled here tonight. Only a few of the earnest ones perceive, and they go on, unfold, and do the real work of God. Others make a good beginning, but it soon requires too much exertion to surmount the first wall of materiality. They find it much easier to drift with the tide, and they drop out. We have all lived in the visible, mortal plane on this earth. In fact, we have never left the earth. We are now invisible only to those that are in mortal consciousness. To those that are on a higher plane of consciousness, we are always visible. Well, I think right there, that in and of itself is a reason, guys, for all of us to raise our vibrations super, super high. Because that's the only way we're going to see and be able to talk to the masters of light. So, all right. Every seed idea placed in the soul becomes a conception and is given thought form in mind, later to be experienced in physical form. Ideas of perfection produce perfection. The reverse is equally true. Just as the sun and the earth produce with equal willingness the mighty tree or the frailest flower when their respective seeds are planted, so spirit and soul respond to man, and that which he desires or that for which he has asked, believing, he receives. Those that have passed from the visible through death are manifesting on the same psychic plane as when they left the body. For the mortal mind functions on the psychic plane. This is the cause of the great psychic realm which lies between the material or the visible and the true spiritual, and through which all aspiring to the true spiritual must force their way through before the spiritual is perceived. In order to perceive the spiritual, we must forge through the psychic directly to God. Death releases the soul only to the psychic plane, and it manifests on the same spiritual plane it was in when the soul was released from the body. The one so passing has not perceived that there is but one spirit, one mind, one body, and that all came forth from this one and must return to it. The Spirit sent forth from this one and given a perfect body is as much a part of the one Spirit as our arm is a part of our whole body, and is never separated from it any more than any member of our body is a separate part, but is one with the whole body and must be fitly joined with it to make up the whole. So must all spirit or expression be fitly joined together to be complete and perfect. They shall all be gathered together in one place, means that we shall be conscious that we are one expression of the divinity and from the same source, God. This is the atonement, which Jesus in the Course in Miracles, remember, he called it the at-one-ment. And last year we read the entire Course in Miracles and part of this year. If you have been with me this long, you would have already heard all of that. So we've done a lot of book reading, a lot of book learning in this show. All right, so okay. So atonement or at-one-ment, that's how, if you break it down, it means being together, joined together in union, at-one-ment, atonement. Oh, wait, and it says right here, the at-one-ment, knowing we are all created in the image and likeness of God, exactly like him, an image through which he may and can express the ideal he has conceived for us. To be willing that God shall express perfectly through us is the highest ideal he has conceived, is the meaning of not my will, but thine, O God, be done. None can rise above mortal thoughts without doing the will of God, whether he does it consciously or unconsciously. Here the talk dropped for a moment, and one of our party asked about the relativity of matter. She went on to say, the real world is substance, the relativity of substance. Let us consider for a moment the 5 kingdoms: the mineral, the vegetable, the animal, the man, and the God kingdoms. We will begin at the mineral, the lowest. We find every particle in the mineral kingdom expressing the one life, the life of God. The disintegration or division of the particles of the mineral combined with elements of air and water has formed soil, every particle still retaining the original life, the life of God. This gives place to the vegetable kingdom, the next higher expression of God to come forth. Then the vegetable, every part of which contains the one life, has taken up a part of this life from the mineral, has increased and multiplied it, and is expressing it one step higher towards the God kingdom. This gives place to the animal, the next higher expression of God. Then the animal, every part of which contains the one life, has taken up a part of this life from the vegetable kingdom, has increased and multiplied it, and is expressing one step higher towards the God kingdom. This gives place to the man kingdom, the next higher expression of God. Then the man kingdom, every part of which contains the one life, has taken up a part of this one life from the animal kingdom, and in expressing it one step higher, gives place to the God kingdom, the highest expression through man. When man has attained this kingdom, he recognizes that all have come forth from the one source, that all contain the one life, the life of God, and he has gained the mastery over all material things. But we need not pause here, for all is progression. When he arrives here, he will find there are new worlds still to conquer. Now we come to the place where we recognize that all space or magnitude contains the one life, the life of God, that all is from the one source and substance. then all substance becomes relative or related, does it not? Here the talk ended, the dinner was finished, and the room was cleared of tables and chairs. There followed a time of frolic and fun, including dance and song, with the music furnished by the invisible choir, and all enjoyed a good time together. The evening finally ended in music and song. The invisible choir became visible. Oh, interesting. Walked among those assembled and at times floated just above their heads. The final ending was one outburst of music, song, and laughter, with all participating. Taken together, it was the most impressive scene that we have ever witnessed. We were told that if we would become quiet, we could hear the music at all times. But it is only on an occasion like this that the chorus accompanies the music. We tried this a number of times afterward and found that we could hear the music. It was always low and beautifully sweet, but it never had the glad, free ring of that one evening unless there were a number of the masters congregated. We were told that this music is what has been called the angel choir. They call it the symphony of souls in accord. Well, that's very interesting. We stopped in this village 3 days, and during that time we saw a great deal of our friends. The evening of the third day they bade us goodbye, and saying they would meet us at our next winter quarters, and disappeared. All right, I'm going to check where I'm at here. I think it's only 15 minutes in. Yeah, that's right. All right, so we are now on chapter 22. So let's read that without further ado. I can't wait to get into this. The next morning, we left the village with only Emil and Jast accompanying us, our objective being the village we had decided upon for our winter quarters. The winters in this part of the country are quite severe, and we felt that we wished to make certain of comfortable quarters before the cold could set in. In this, as in a great many other matters, our fears were not well grounded, for when we arrived, we found comfortable quarters all ready for us. Our trail from the village led across the plateau, then up a long winding canyon to the divide where the second fortified village that guarded the plateau we had crossed was located. The canyon walls were from 200 to 500 feet perpendicular and joined the mountains, which rose to an elevation of 2,000 feet above the crest where the trail crossed the divide. At the top of the divide, two great rock ridges jutted up on either side of a level space about 5 acres in extent. These two ridges were about 600 feet apart. A wall 40 feet high had been built across the open space, thus connecting the two ridges of rock and forming an effectual barrier. This wall was 60 feet wide at the bottom, 30 feet wide at the top, and was so constructed that the top formed a runway over which huge rocks could be rolled and dropped to the ground. On the other side of the wall, where the ground sloped sharply and connected with a steep declivity down which the trail passed on the way to the other side of the divide. Now there were chutes arranged along the wall at intervals of 100 feet so that the rocks would gain headway enough to clear the base of the wall before they struck ground. When they did strike, they would roll down the slope, then over the declivity, and on down the canyon for about 4 miles before they would stop, if they did not fly into pieces from their own momentum. In all, this formed an effectual defense, as the canyon was not over 50 feet wide at any place in the 4 miles, and it was steep enough to give great momentum to the rolling rocks. There were also 2 places on each side of the canyon where rocks could be loosened and would roll down. These places were connected by trails cut along the mountainside from each end of the wall. There were a number of rocks, each about 12 feet through, placed along the top of the wall, ready for an emergency. We were told that it had not been found necessary to use any of them, as there was but one tribe that ever attempted to gain access to the village uninvited, and this tribe had been all but annihilated by rocks released from the 4 stations in the canyon walls. The first rocks released in their downward course had released others until an avalanche swept down the valley, carrying all before it. We were told the rocks on top of the wall had rested where they were for over 2,000 years, as there had not been a war in that country during that time. We found that the 6 houses comprising the village were built into the wall, 3 stories high, with the roofs level with the top of the wall. Access to it was thus gained by stairways leading up through each story to the roof of each house. Openings for windows were left in the wall at the 3rd story. These windows overlooked the canyon below. The trail could be seen from these windows and the top of the wall as it wound around the mountainside miles away. Okay. We were made comfortable for the night in the 3rd story of one of these houses. And after an early dinner, we went to the roof to see the sunset. We had been there but a few moments when a man, apparently 50 years of age, came up the stairs to the roof. After being introduced by Jast, he joined in the conversation. We soon found he lived in the village. So he lived in the village we had selected for our winter quarters and was on his way there. We supposed he was traveling as we were and invited him to join our party. He thanked us and said he was able to make the distance much more quickly than we could, that he had stopped in the village to see a relative and would be home that evening. The conversations then turned to the temple the three of us had visited with Emil and Jast. This man spoke quietly and said, "I saw you yesterday on the parapet of the temple floor that night. Then he went on and gave the dream or vision just as it came to me, and it has always been set forth in this occurrence to them. This man was a perfect stranger to us, yet when he recounted the dream as vividly as it had appeared to me, then he went on to say, you were shown just what we are shown, that man comes forth as in unity just as long as he has consciously realized this and used the power and dominion rightly. But the moment B in his mortal self conceived dual powers, he began to see dual. He misused this power and brought forth duality, for man is a free will agent and hangs forth that which he gazes upon. Then diversity and wide separation resulted. I'm sorry, I just lost my page. Okay. And wide separation resulted, and this has followed him all over the earth. But a change in something, diversity has reached its limit, and mankind is recognizing that all came forth from the one source. Recognizing this, men are now coming closer and closer together. Man is beginning to realize that every other man is his brother instead of his enemy. When man does fully realize this, he will see that just as all came from the one source, we all must return to that source or become as brothers in reality. Then he will be in heaven and will recognize then would he, I'm sorry, let me start this over. Then he will be in heaven and will recognize that heaven means the inner peace and harmony created by man right here on earth. He will then see that he makes his heaven or hell just as he chooses. This heaven has been conceived rightly but misplaced geographically. He will know that God dwells within him, and not only within him but in everything about him, every rock, every tree, every water he drinks, the money he spends, that God is the substance of all things. When he breathes God as much as he does air. When he partakes of food, he partakes of God as much as he does of food. It is not our wish to form new cults or sects. We feel that the churches that are established today are sufficient, and they are the logical centers to reach out and help the people to the realization of God through the Christ in all. Those associated with the churches must realize that the church but typifies the one thing, the Christ consciousness in all mankind. If they realize this, where can the diversity lie but in the concept of man's mortal mind and not in the church. Wherein then is one church or society different from one another? The diversity thought to exist today must be wholly in man's mortal mind. See what this diversity has led to: the great wars, the intense hate engendered between nations and families and even individuals, and all because one church organization or another has thought that its creed or doctrine was better than that of another. Yet all in reality are the same, for they all lead to the same place. It would not be possible for each to have a heaven of his own. For if it did, when a fellow man finished with his particular brand of church organization and was ready to receive his reward, he would be obliged to spend the remainder of his existence looking through the maze of heavens for the particular one he is destined for. The church organizations and those associated with them are coming closer each day, and the time will come they will be united as one. When all are, I lost my place again. When all are as one, there will be no need of organization. Shut your mouth. No need of organization. Here I am, a Virgo, reading these words. All right. Let me check where I'm at. All right. We have some time left. Yet the fault does not lie wholly with the church organizations. Few people have awakened to the realization of what life really holds for them. We find the greater majority drifting through life dissatisfied, dazed, crushed, or uncertain. Each must learn to lay hold of life and begin to express from his own life center with purposeful, definite action the gifts that God has given him. Each must unfold his own life. It is not possible for one to live for another. No one can express your real life for you, and none can say how you must express your own life. As the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given unto the Son to have life in himself. A soul cannot realize this and just drift, for the whole purpose of life reveals itself in the privilege and opportunity of expressing the God self within. To express that which God has conceived for him should be man's great purpose in life. When Jesus was on the mountaintop and his disciples came to him, see what words of wisdom he spoke unto them. His consciousness was awakened to this realization, and he had become established in this high resolve that man can unfold in its fullness of power only when he has a true ideal, a real purpose to life, in life. A seed can begin to grow only when it is firmly fixed in the ground. The God power within can bring forth a tense a true desire, okay, can bring forth a true desire only when it is firmly fixed in the soul of man. We must all know, as Jesus did, that the first spiritual impulse toward expression is the definite desire to express. Okay, let me check again where we're at here. 34. Wow. That's a crazy synchronous number. All right. Here we go. Jesus said, "Blessed be the poor in spirit," realizing that any limitation in life that can create a desire in the individual to rise superior to the limitation and free himself from it is good. He realized that need is a prophecy of fulfillment. He looked upon every need as soil prepared for a seed. If the seed were planted, then allowed to grow and come forth, it would fill the need. Need or desire in the unfoldment of life is misunderstood. That is, you must be crushed. Wait, what? You read that last line again. Need or desire in the unfoldment of life is misunderstood. That it must be crushed out of the heart is taught by some great teachers. Jesus said, "Woe unto you who are satisfied. If you are satisfied, you are at a standstill. In order to contact life fully, we must seek each moment to express life fully. Desire for this is the urge toward it. Weary of crawling in the dust of the earth, man yearns to fly. And this longing invites him to find the manifestation of law that will enable him to rise above his present day limitations. Finding it, he is able to go where he will without thought of time or distance. It has been said that man proposes and God disposes. The reverse is true, for God proposes and man disposes. If man is so disposed, he can do all that God does. Cannot the Son do what the Father has done? Okay, let's see. All right. It said 20 minutes. I'm like, wait. Okay, yeah, about 23 minutes left. All right. The failure of outer things to satisfy leads the soul to seek the power within. Then the individual may discover that I am. He may know that within him lies all power to satisfy the soul, to fulfill its every need and desire. This knowledge may not come until the individual is driven by the buffetings of the world to seek this inner plane of peace and calm. When he knows I am is the fulfillment of his desire, the desire is filled. To look outside the God self for the fulfillment of his desire is folly. To unfold the self must do the unfolding. Then what a realization. What an awakening to know the I am, to know that within is the power, substance, and intelligence from which all forms take form, and to know that the moment a definite and true idea of desire can be intelligently formed, the power, intelligence, and substance of spirit must flow to it and bring it forth. Are these not treasures hid within yourselves, ourselves? How clear this is to the one that has found the pearl. Then think, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, or right useness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The reason they are added is that they are made out of the very essence of spirit. The consciousness must first find the spirit before it can form the desired thing. The awakened one perceives the creative principle within, then he sees, and his realization is his life opportunity. He has vision or becomes aware of his possibilities, or the possibilities that lie before him. With the knowledge that the creative power lies within, he recalls his heart's desire. This becomes an ideal or mold that draws forth power and substance to fill the mold. I see is the soul's conception. I see, and it's all capital letters. I see is the soul's conception. It is the promised land, the dream come true, toward which the soul may look in faith. Although it may not yet be consciously possessed, it must come forth into visual form as he fulfills the law. A wilderness of experiences may have to be met and overcome. This but makes the soul worthy of atonement. Okay, there we go. Understanding the vision as a land of promise, an ideal that is to be realized or to become real, the soul now sees only the good, the object of its desire. Hence there must be no doubt, no wavering, no hesitation, for this would be fatal. One plans... All right, here we go. One must be true to the vision and press on. This vision is typical and as necessary as the plans and specifications of a building. One must be as true to the vision as the builder is true to the plans and specifications the architect has furnished. All but the truth must be eliminated. Okay, hold on a minute. I want to see how much of this we have left. Okay, looks like we'll be able to finish this, I think. Let me check out the time still. Maybe. Okay, we'll try to get through it quickly. All great souls are true to their vision. Everything brought forth was first a vision, a seed idea planted in the soul. I said soil, but soul. That's what it says. Then allowed to expand and come forth. These souls never allow the unbelief of others to influence them. They are willing to sacrifice for their vision. They are true to it. They believe in it, and it is to them as they believe. Jesus remained true and steadfast to his vision. He adhered to his plan even when those nearest and dearest to him were unbelieving and untrue. It was unto him as he believed, and so it is unto all. When the individual starts for the promised land, the land of darkness must be forsaken and forgotten. He must leave the darkness and start towards the light. It is impossible to go and stay at the same time. The old must be forsaken and the new adhered to. He must forget the things he does not wish to remember, and remember only the things he wishes to retain. One is as essential as the other. The vision only must be remembered if it were wishes it fulfilled. Okay, I'm going to read that again. The vision only must be remembered if he wishes it fulfilled. There we go. He must remember by holding in mind the vision he wishes to reproduce. He must remember or refuse to remember the thing he does not wish to reproduce. Every idea, thought, word, or act must be true to the vision in order to bring it forth. This is true concentration, the concentration of devotion, the centering of the forces upon the essential. This is loving the ideal. It is only through love that an ideal can be given expression. Love makes the ideal become the real. If at first he fails, he must be determined and press on. This is the exercise of the will, the cry of self-confidence, the expression of faith, directing the power toward the ideal. The ideal could never be attained without this conscious direction of power, this exercise of the will, and yet would be fatal to the ideal of the will if the will too were not ideal. The will must possess the same quality as the ideal to serve. If the will does not possess the desire to serve, the power the will wishes to direct cannot be released from the soul. Now this is all, the next sentence or two is in all capital letters. The will to be served turns the life current against the self. The will to serve keeps the life current flowing through the self and keeps the self in radiation. They mean like radiating love and light, not UV radiation. They didn't talk about that yet then. To serve gives purpose to vision. It releases love in life. How can love be expressed unless it flows through the one expressing life? If it flows through the consciousness, the whole organism responds. It thrills every cell with the love it expresses. Then the body becomes harmonized. The soul becomes radiant. The mind becomes enlightened. The thought becomes keen, brilliant, alive, definite. The word becomes positive, true, constructive. The flesh is renewed, purified, and quickened. Affairs are adjusted, and all things assume their true position. The I am is expressed through the me, and the me is no longer allowed to suppress the I am. If the body is not obedient to spirit, how can it express the spirit? In this way, the individual learns to know That spirit is a fulfillment of the need. In no way can it be given higher expression than when it is in the storehouse of spirit. It is the I will to serve that opens the unlimited storehouse of God to all and brings its realization to the soul. I will to serve. Remember that. Okay. The soul has returned to the Father's house as soon as it has willed to serve. The prodigal who is serving becomes the feasted son. The hireling feeding on the husks becomes a prince of a royal household, the household of his own possibilities. He knows the love of God and understands and appropriates his Father's gift. None but a son can receive this gift. No servant, no hireling can enter into the joy of the son's inheritance. The servant is always seeking to attain. The sons are already inherited all that the Father has. When we know that we belong to the Father's household and that we are heir to all that the Father has, then we can begin to live as the Father wishes us to live. Behold, now are we sons of God. The Son consciousness, S-U-N, causes the fulfillment. The servant consciousness causes the lack. We will find every desire of the heart fulfilled by the Father as soon as we act the part of the Son in thought, word, and deed. We will find that the sons of God are free. So here the speaker arose, bade us good night, and with the remark that he hoped to see us when we arrived at winter quarters, and departed. All right, we're going to leave off here, guys, at chapter 23. So that was some pretty intense words about the law of attraction, basically. It's pretty intense. This is similar to stuff I'm reading, but I like the higher octave nature of this. I will to serve. If you will to serve others through whatever it is that you do, whether it's being a janitor or playing the violin or being a teacher or a nurse, willing yourself to serve others is willing to serve God. Will bring about your blessings faster. So thank you for your continued faith and confidence in myself, my show, and my abilities. I will to serve you. So thank you for everything. All right, so that's it, guys. I'm wiped out. I've had a long day. And it was a great day with my son, but a long day than this. I'm about an hour late, so we've got to get this out here. Maybe you Californianites have been waiting for this. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. And that's it for right now, guys. Again, if you wish, you can always direct message me at mermaidgirl888 on Instagram. And by the way, I wanted to let you guys know, I've been thinking a lot about the price of my hypnosis audios. I wanted to make the final announcement now. And the first audio will be available in the next 72 hours, I think, depending on how easy it is to edit. The Anchor app it would have already been done, but it kept collapsing and I had to restart it many times. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it will go smoothly this week. But I realized that when I first started out, I was making $80 an hour. And this was well over 20 years ago. If I gave myself a generous 10% raise every year for the past, actually, 23 or 25 years now. It's been a long time. But that would put me at about $1,200 per session for hypnosis if I were to see you in person. And so I was going to try to do it for under 80, and then I realized I probably should do it for more than what I made in the beginning, 25 years ago. I don't want to undervalue myself, as you should never undervalue yourself either. So I have decided to charge $111 per hypnosis audio, because I do have light codes in my voice. I do channel God during the recording. I channel not only God's words directly during the hypnosis itself, but also the energy of God is being poured forth. They're very powerful audios. I mean, this first one, I could just feel the power of it. So I'm going to charge $111, but because it's Christmas, I'm going to give you you guys an opportunity to buy these at $99. The first one that will be available this week, hopefully, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, is about healing on all levels. And you can use it, every time you can use it for a different kind of healing. So it's almost like a 4-in-1. So you can PayPal me $99 and tell me what email I should send the audio to. And that's either metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, or you could PayPal me at mermaidgirl888@gmail.com. And again, I'm mermaidgirl888 also on Instagram. Well, anyway, that's my big announcement. Okay, that's it, guys. That's all she wrote. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being on this spiritual journey with me. And that's it. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. So I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.